Hi everyone, my name is Andy Lanza. I am the DE&I student lead here at the Center for Career Development. I'm a junior and my majors are education and history. I'm here with April Martin today. And April, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm April Martin. I'm super stoked to be here and to chat with you today. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm a Navy veteran. I was on active duty between 2000 to 2008. I'm a mother of three. I love all things sports. In fact, I'm actually headed to a Yankees game this evening. So
Nice.
depending on who you follow, you either love me or hate me.
I'm a Red
Uh,
Sox fan.
Oh no. No, it's awesome. It's funny. Connecticut is like kind of half and half. So we have to learn to, get along with one another. But I think we're pretty high in the standings. So
We are.
yeah, we'll win together.
Yes.
Until the very end, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Um, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at the Connecticut Interlocal Risk Management Agency. Um, I live in Simsbury, Connecticut with my husband and my youngest child. My two older children are college aged and they're out of the house and going to school themselves. And then we have this cute little Dachshund named Humphrey.
Aw, so
Yeah.
adorable.
He's
Awesome.
awesome. He's so
That's
awesome.
that's awesome. That's great. So yeah, hop right into the first question. So how did you decide that you wanted to serve in the military?
Yeah, so honestly, I really didn't have a choice. And people often, people who know me today, they kind of like they're taken aback by my story, but I was emancipated at the age of 16. I had a, very difficult upbringing. I come from very humble means, and I knew I wanted to go to college. Despite working three jobs and being on my own, I graduated third from the top of my class. But I also knew what debt was, and I did not want any part of it. So I literally went to the recruiting office and I was like, Navy sounds cool. And I honestly couldn't have told you like what the different branches of service even did. I'm not gonna like front. I totally didn't. Um, and 3 days later, I was in boot camp
Wow.
and in Great Lakes, Illinois. And I can say that like I wasn't like this heavy duty like patriot. I don't know a lot of like recently graduated high school students that are. Maybe a little bit after 9/11 we saw some of that.
Mhm.
But I became just this hardcore patriot while in the Navy, and the Navy became my family. So it is probably the best thing that I have ever done in my life, in addition to being a mom. But yeah, and it was on after that. It really was. It
Wow,
was great.
that's amazing. So, how did your experience in the military influence your career path after?
Yeah, I can say that my career in the military wholly shaped who I am as a leader. It absolutely shaped my career path. While I'm in marketing and communications, while there's a lot of that in the military, it's not necessarily what I did. I was in the legal field. I was enlisted, but I did a lot of writing. But I my experience helped inform, like, I knew what I didn't want to do. And that's really important to know, even I think more so than knowing what you want to do. And so you get a lot of opportunity in the military if you're capable. They'll let you do pretty much anything at any age, which is like frightening and awesome at the same time. And so yeah, I think that it I knew what my path was going to be. I knew what my strengths were. And then in terms of just developing the skill set, I had the confidence because of the military to just go out and get it and do it.
That's great. So after your service, how long did it take for you to figure out what you wanted to do?
Uh, I kind of fumbled around outside of the service. It's really interesting. So when you get out, you're part of like this community in the military, and I came in the year 2000. So, 9/11 happened, you know, kind of right after that. And, I was part of something bigger than myself. And there was like this grand mission and everybody was involved. And, um, when I got out, I was like, I still want to do good and I still want to serve, but I still had to make money. And so, it was a little conflicting because it's difficult to find, a career path where you still feel like you're giving back. I will say that nothing will ever feel like, being in the military and serving just our incredible country. There's no better feeling as far as I'm concerned. And so like I fumbled around, like I became a grant writer because I wanted to serve underrepresented youth throughout Connecticut. But I was working at a nonprofit, and I just, there are so many challenges associated with that. And I realized pretty quickly that if I wanted to afford opportunities to my children and not make it so that, maybe the military is a choice, not something that they have to do to go to college, I was going to have to either become an entrepreneur or join corporate America. And so I very quickly changed my degree, career path, and became part of the business community. And then, yeah, it was on after that. Once I figured it out, it was good. And I think that's something that, it should be of note. Like you don't have to have it figured out. You won't have it figured out and you're going to stumble along the way. And like don't worry about trying to replicate your military experience. Um, you'll find something that's equally fulfilling and you just got to look for it in other places in your life.
Awesome. So, how and why did you end up choosing to come to UConn to like finish and getting your degrees?
I mean, why not? Like,
Exactly.
you know, um, and you guys aren't even paying me for this. I mean it. It's attending UConn as an undergrad and a graduate student has been a true gift. And I'm not a person that believes that I'm owed anything for my service. The Navy, the military did far more for me than I could ever do for it. But I am sincerely filled with gratitude for the opportunity to become a UConn alum. There are so many support systems. The tuition incentives are unmatched as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, why not? That was a no-brainer.
I agree. That's how I felt when I chose UConn.
Yeah. And then like look at our basketball team. Come on.
I know. Exactly. I agree.
They're incredible.
So, growing up, was there anyone that you looked up to?
Um, not that I remember anyone in particular. Living on my own and kind of practically raising myself, I had to look to everybody to take, little kind of nuggets with me, like, oh, okay, so you do that in that setting. Or like, maybe my friends' parents, they'd be like, they're successful. I'm gonna do that, But there was never really any one person, and I think that still stands today, because I learn really extraordinary things from ordinary people. And I've never been one to kind of like put that like one person on a pedestal and like try to like follow or mimic them. I just um again, I find a lot of extraordinary in the ordinary, and everyday people inspire me to be better.
That's amazing. So when you chose to come to UConn and like get your degree, what was one thing that you wish you knew, transitioning from like your time after your service to then coming back into like the college world? What was one thing you wish you knew?
Um, I was a little bit older, and my time in the military, it aged me a bit in terms of just my point of view and how I view the world. And I would have really benefited for someone to just kind of like pull me aside and say, um, because of your experiences, you view the world very differently, and that's neither good or bad. Because there was a lot of cognitive dissonance, and I expected a lot of things, and people expected things of me, and there was a lot of kind of, misfires there. Knowing that ahead of time, and then kind of allowing even just myself some grace, I think would have been super helpful.
Awesome. And then kind of going off of that, what's your biggest advice for students in college?
Um, in college, I would say, don't put the stress on yourself thinking that you have to have it all figured out. And I know that's so much easier to say than to do, because people said that to me and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like there was a lot of stress on me. And if you think about just my personal situation, like I really couldn't get it wrong. There was nothing to fall back on. Um, but even so, everything works out. The path is going to be crooked and crazy, and you're going to think that you're failing in every way. But it is the failure and the adversity that's going to make you freaking amazing. So embrace it, love it, and like just fail forward. If I could have just accepted failure a little bit more and realized like what I was learning from that failure, I would have probably been a little bit easier on myself. And that's just stress you don't need. There's enough external stress coming, in terms of your assignments and, you know, what your parents want you to do, and just kind of, the things that we put on ourselves that are completely unnecessary. It all works out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Two
just
more questions. Two more questions for you.
awesome.
Um, what are some things that you still want to accomplish in your career? It sounds like you've done so much, but is there anything out there that you're still like, hey, I really want to do this?
Yeah, I always like attribute myself. I'm kind of like the Forrest Gump of life. It's like, honestly, like one day I'm like, you know what? I want to get my MBA, and then like two
Yeah,
days later, I was in the classroom. Like,
that's
um,
amazing.
yeah, it just kind of happens. I have a lot of energy. I feel like I've lived like four lives already, and so with that, I'm 41 years old, and I'm still like going like 100 miles a minute. Like people on my team are like, "Are you even real?" Like sometimes, like take it down a notch. So, maybe it's like not wanting to do more, but do a little bit less, and, do some really quality things and being content with that.
Awesome, that's great. Last question for you. So, what is your biggest piece of advice for someone who is looking to join the military?
Looking to join the military? I mean, it's funny. So my son is actually thinking about joining the military, and we
Oh,
have
wow.
this conversation like every other day, especially with what's happening in the world. And there's a lot of conflict. There's just a lot happening. But I said it before, serving this country is the best thing I've ever done. Um, I learned a lot about myself, including and how to hone my skills while in the Navy. And in doing so, I was able to really capitalize on truly differentiating skills. But anyone can build skills. What matters are your attributes, and the military will teach you to capitalize on your attributes. And they include adaptability, courage, diversity, inclusion. Like I don't know a more diverse and inclusive, cohort than the military. Um, these are the attributes that are going to help you or your organization, your employer, whatever, really perform and transform at any time and in any situation. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you want to do it, and you do it, you will come out and always be highly competitive in the workforce. And you will know deep down in your heart that there is truly nothing that you can't do. And that's what the military teaches you. And that's what I tell my son.
Mm,
Yeah, you get to travel. Yeah, there's conflict in the world. You might be called up to do really hard things, but you're going to come out a completely different person and learn how to capitalize that, and you're unstoppable. That's such a great feeling.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your service in the
Thank
Navy.
you.
And is there anything else that you want to end with?
No, thank you. I totally appreciate this, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.